So this is what I learned from dabbling in hookup culture. And I say all this to say, after all the things that I've done, um, all the experiences I've accumulated, I can honestly tell you I did all that to, only to get to the point where I didn't need to do all of that. So let's backtrack a little bit. So I was on the eve of or I would say I was post heartbreak, right? So I was going out with this girl. I was with her for like 2 years. I thought it was like I was going through that whole. I thought it was the one. So what happened was I crafted a story around me being with her indefinitely, right? Or as long as I was gonna be alive for, right? And so imagine I have this story in my mind of what is supposed to happen, right? And everything is with her in it, right? So all of my plans, all of the design, all of the implementation, all of the goals were oriented around me being with her. And so imagine that, right? Suddenly I get to the point where the next day is one where the story is no longer with her. So I have to now figure out, well, what's the new story? I have to make a new story. And then I started thinking about it. Well, I kind of fell into this whole idea, and I had it. A friend had given me the idea. It was a woman, by the way. She was like, "Why don't you, mess around, engage in a little bit of what we didn't call it that, but engage in what people call hookup culture. So, have some fun." I was like, okay, fine. Like if she's telling me I should do this, then why not, And I got into it, right? I kind of figured out because to me that was a big deal, right? I was like, I'm really just gonna be hooking up with girls that I'm not with. I thought that was crazy. It wasn't something I was used to doing. It wasn't something that I had really done in the past. And so, switching the chip and changing and switching gears to doing that was interesting, right? So I did all that. I started doing all that. I figured out the process. It was actually kind of easy. That was the crazy part, was that it was easy. It was not a difficult thing to do. And towards the end of it, I was left. I'm not going to get into the numbers, but I was left with a feeling of, wow, like what an empty thing, right? Because you never get to cultivate any intimacy, right? Because what happens is a lot of times I got into these situations where I knew that it was short term, right? So in my mind, I had wired my mind to think this is all short term, right? None of it was meant to be a long term situation. So, I was doing that enough. And then I think the last time I got to the point where I was like, yeah, enough is enough. I can't do this anymore. So it got to the point where like this girl, the last one I was like, hooking up with, she had caught feelings and then like wanted something more. And I had to have that difficult conversation where I was like, look, this was never supposed to go more than that. More than there was never supposed to be any feelings involved. And so even if a girl can guarantee you that there's no feelings involved, and there's no guarantee that she can't change her mind afterwards. You have to understand that as well. But never mind the fact that I had like hurt somebody. It was to the point where I was like, all right, like I'm clearly not getting nothing out of this, right? Like a lot of people like to like flex, especially a lot of guys like to flex, like red pill stuff in particular. It says, get your body count up to 50. Such an arbitrary number. And it's ridiculous because it's like, what is it going to give you? It didn't give me any intimacy, right? It didn't teach me anything about intimacy, emotions, or feelings. And it just made everything very transactional. It wasn't something that I learned much from. And it was something I didn't really want to do anymore because I was just like, I mean, when do you draw the line? When do you decide, all right, enough is enough? If you think 50 is enough, I think it's just like a really weird number to put out there, right? Because what is it about 50 and not 49 or 51? What is it about that number 50? But anyways, I did all that. And like I said, it didn't leave me with anything that I couldn't have gotten without it. Other than the fact that I could say that I dabbled in it. But for sure, it was not a good thing for my thinking, because I was wired to only think short term. So I had to really take some time to figure out how to become a long term person again, how to think long term in terms of people I was girls I was meeting, women I was meeting, because I was like, well, I don't want to go that route again. So the intention from now moving forward is not to do something that was just, short term. So it was very destructive for me to do these things, right? And it's like a lot of people throw that out there lightly, like, yeah, jump into hookup culture. And yeah, whatever, granted, you could say, oh, how lucky you are to have the privilege of being able to jump in whenever you feel like it. Sure. But it's really not that difficult. Like I said, anybody that even puts in a minimal amount of effort and has a little bit of charm can easily weave their way into it, right? It's not that difficult. And it wasn't like I was like, it wasn't really like low hanging fruit. It's not like I was going around like picking up chicks that had just passed out at the club at 4 in the morning. That wasn't what I was doing. I was like going out with girls and actually meeting girls in real life. And I think, the thing is too, I have to be honest. I think a part of it was I was doing something that I couldn't do before, and that's why I did it. That's why I relished in it, because I was like basically making up for all the lost time where I couldn't do these things, right? And now that I was suddenly in a position where I could, so I was like, sure, it's open season. I really thoroughly took advantage of the opportunities, right? And I fumbled like another entire batch. So the same amount of opportunities that I did take advantage of was the same opportunities I did not take advantage of. So you can only imagine how much higher the number would have been if I would have been so good at what I was doing. Because eventually what happens is you get really good at the system, right? It's very easy to kind of see, okay, I can see where this is going. And so, but yeah, I mean, like I said, if anybody's considering should I jump into this, I really don't think you should. Hooking up with a bunch of different girls is not, it doesn't really do anything for you. And if you don't believe me, then be my guest. Knock yourself out, give it a go, see how you feel. I can almost guarantee you it's not gonna do anything for you. Um, and unfortunately, there's a lot in the culture that tells you to go ahead and try it, give it a go. But I'm telling you to go. Don't go against your gut. Don't go against your nature. If it's not something that's in you, don't pursue it. Like I said, it wasn't in me. I did it because I was easily influenced, right? And thought, sure, if everybody else is doing it, there must be something about it that I'm missing out on. And so that's kind of how I looked at the situation. And like I said, I did all that only to realize I didn't have to do all of that. All right, and that's what I'm gonna leave you with.